Okay, so this is that question from the Thursday night homework. There were 384 square meters. It's a plot of land. So because you see square meters, that should automatically tell you that, sorry, that's JoJo, is area. And so this plot of land could be a square, it could be a rectangle. We don't really know what it is, okay? So we're just going to assume that it's a rectangle. I mean, if it turns out to be a square, then it does, okay? So here's my square. I mean my rectangle. Okay, so it has to be enclosed by a fence, so these four sides make the fence, and it has to be divided into two equal parts by another fence that has to be parallel. So it couldn't be something like this, because that would not be parallel. Okay, so that's our picture. And I think in class we marked each of these things X's, and we marked each of these things Y's. And the question is, what dimensions of the outer rectangle will minimize the amount of fence? So when we're talking about fencing, we're talking about perimeter. So that means we want to find the minimum of the perimeter. So in order to find the minimum of the perimeter, you need to have a perimeter formula. So you could take the derivative of it. So the perimeter would be 4 x's and 3 y's, because you still need a piece of fencing for this piece right here. But there are two variables, so we can't find the derivative of that. So the piece of information we have not used yet is the area. Well, the area of this entire thing is going to be 2x, y, because you have 2 x's times y. But you know that the area is 384, so we can change the area to 384. Okay, so you could either solve for x or for y. It doesn't matter, because we're going to need both of those. So I'm just going to divide both sides by 2x, but you could have done y. Those cancel, and now you're going to get that y equals 384 over 2x. But 384 is an even number, so we know 2 will go into it evenly. And I'm going to write our final answer over here. So we're going to get y equals 192 over x. Okay, so wherever there's a y, and here's one right here. Whoops, I'm going to put my pen back on. There's a y right here. I'm going to replace that with 192 over x. Okay, so p equals 4x plus 3 times 192 over x. Okay, and then I'm just going to multiply. So my perimeter is 4x plus 576 over x. Okay, and that's what we want to minimize. So that means we need to find the derivative of that and set that equal to 0. Okay, but first we're going to rewrite it into something a little nicer and make that x to the negative 1. So this way we could just use a power rule. Okay, so the derivative is going to be 4 minus 576x to the negative 2. So this is our derivative right here, and we want to set that equal to 0. So 4 minus 576 over x squared equals 0. And I mentioned that you're going to usually end up with one positive and one negative term, and you want to bring the negative term over to the other side. So we're going to get 4 equals 576 over x squared. Okay, and now we just have to solve for x. So I'm going to make some room here. Okay, so I'm going to cross multiply, and I'm going to go up here. So I get 4x squared equals 576. Divide both sides by 4, and you get x squared equals 144. Take the square root of both sides, and you get x equals 12. And we don't have to consider that x is plus or minus 12, because there's no way that x could be negative 12, because x represents a side. So that means that x has to equal 12. So x over here is 12. And the question is asking, what are the dimensions of the outer rectangle? Okay, so let's figure that out now. So the outer rectangle would be, whoops, sorry. I'm still in erase mode. The outer rectangle is this piece here. Let me do a different color. Okay. This is the outer rectangle. That's the dimensions that we have to give right there. So it's going to be x plus x. So 2 x's, and we know that x is equal to 12. So that means that the length has to be 24. and, well, I'm just going to write this as length rather than x. So my length is 24, and my width is y. Now, x could have been the width, it doesn't matter, but I just happen to choose that one. So what is my y? Well, y is right here. So y is 192 over x, and we know from this that x is equal to 12. And that equals 16. So what are the dimensions? The dimensions are 24 by 16. And that's the answer.